What up, what up, what up? Happy Tuesday, happy Tuesday. What is going on, everyone? Happy Juneteenth. I know we're gonna...
It's a little late for that.
You know what I mean. I had no other time but to do it for this episode because I couldn't do it last week. And, of course, we're a couple days shy of it. But happy Juneteenth. It's happening.
It happened.
It's happening. No, change is happening. And I love it.
I'm surprised how many people didn't know that it existed.
That's what happens when you whitewash history. Just like Thanksgiving Day and, all that stuff. Just like we did an episode probably a year ago at this point, maybe, or 8 months, 10 months ago, about lies and myths about different things. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of things that they told us growing up, like milk and bananas. Like, they only give us one type of bananas, but there's a bunch of different types, and, mm-hmm. they used to package it as, a breakfast thing. Mm-hmm. And, there's a lot of stuff that they just, here you guys go, you can have this. Mm-hmm. We're going to give you a little bit of information, but you can't have the rest of it. Mm-hmm. Oh, man, what is going on, everyone? I'm Shadell, co-host of PagingTheSimpsons, and I'm joined with my lovely wife.
Lauren.
I completely had a brain fart moment, so
I'm like, where is he going with this?
I had no idea what I don't even know what I just said right now because I for a moment
Come back to Earth. Hello.
I pooped out.
Hello.
All right, so I want to hop back to Juneteenth. I'm happy that this is slowly becoming a state. Each state is writing in as yo, it's gonna be a holiday, and a lot of state offices and stuff like that had it off. And I really hope that by next year this becomes another day off, and we have to my knowledge, I don't think we've never seen a national holiday be written in.
So I want to address that. I thought that, and then somebody messaged me and said how apparently 9/11 became Patriot Day, and I didn't know this.
Never heard that in my life.
Well, and I told her, I was like, but it's not it's not a national holiday where everyone has off. And she said that I think her work does and that some schools do, but I was like, I was always in school on 9/11 and you have work still and everything. And so I feel okay, maybe they called it something different so that maybe it doesn't have the negative connotation of 9/11 with it. But it was always just we remembered that day, but nothing changed.
And some places give you Veterans Day, but only if you're an actual veteran. So it's a selective holiday,
right? But yeah, so I still feel that this is different because I feel this will become a national holiday where everyone's actually off, in that sense. Assume.
And I was telling you, I was I really hope that within the next 5 or so years that just we do for 4th of July, this becomes a get together of people
And not for nothing. So that got me thinking too, because for example, I know we go over your family's house for July 4th festivities and cookout and all that kind of stuff. Would your family switch to Juneteenth, or would we do both, or
probably
would it just be July 4th still?
Oh, probably not.
Because that's interesting, is I think seeing how families are going to adapt, and if they're going to just recognize Juneteenth over July 4th, if they're going to recognize both, or just stay with what they're doing.
I don't see that happening for a long time.
Yeah.
People you have,
because people are also used to what they're used to.
Exactly. It's based on the older people, because for my family, a lot of the older people run it, so they're going to run it on that day because that's what they've always done, so it's not going to change.
Right.
But let's say as me, my siblings, cousins, us grow up, it's okay, we can be hey, we normally have, Juneteenth off now. Do we want to try that? Because that's more realistic to us as people.
Right.
So, that's, it's not going to change. It's something that's going to have to take, that's longer out there for it to be a thing. I'm just saying that's a little get together, and then you have another one come July where it's maybe a little bit bigger, but I don't see it completely transitioning over unless you have that, I guess, woke family that's yo, we're celebrating this. Mm-hmm. And I found it interesting how many people didn't know about this, and not to say that I knew it much more. I just learned about it maybe 3-4 years ago from Blackish when they had a whole episode about it.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna say I didn't even learn about it from you. I learned about it from what was it? Somebody I knew from a networking group, and he was black, and he would post about it on Facebook and stuff. And that's, I'm pretty sure, how I first actually came to know about it. So, but it was a few years ago. So I think it had already started to become more of a, I guess, recognized thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, obviously, with everything going on, now everybody is learning of it, not just a small part of people.
Now I'm trying to find the freaking, like, the brief history about Juneteenth. If I have it on this article I'm trying to pull up. I'm trying to find, like, the timepiece. Is it 1863? I believe Abraham
I thought it was
Lincoln.
1865.
65? Okay. I have no idea. Well, it says since 1865, black people have acknowledged. I think it's 63. Because it says that. Follow what I'm saying?
No, that's 1865.
Yeah, but follow what happens after. It says black people have acknowledged June 19th. So since that year.
I'm pretty sure it was 1865.
Go ahead, do a research check. But I feel like it's 1863. We can sit here and bet on it, and you can confirm. But nonetheless, Abraham Lincoln signs gave the right to give slaves their freedom. And it wasn't until, like 2 years later when all the slaves were actually told about it and were set free, essentially. Which is all cool and stuff, but it didn't. It's like, it's like when you're in an abusive relationship and you're like, and someone's like, yo, you're free to do, like, someone gives you that, like, eye opener where you're like, you're free to go and do this and that, and you don't have to be in this, like, relationship. But it's like you're held back because you're like, this is all I know. Like, how could I go anywhere when this is all I know? So that's kind of how I feel like the slaves took it, where it's like, it's great, we're free, and we can now not be, stuck under control of this, like, person. But I feel like a lot of them probably either, went and tried doing their own thing, or some stayed still with the slave owner because they had no other options.
Yeah, so this says on June 19th, 1865, Union General Gordon Granger led thousands of federal troops to Galveston, Texas, to announce that the Civil War had ended and slaves had been freed. Approximately 250,000 Texan slaves had no idea that their freedom had been secured by the government.
Yeah, but 63 is when Abraham Lincoln said, that's the thing. Like, 65 is when, like, yeah, now everyone knows about it. But it took 2 years before that. Man, I use you as a fact checker and you didn't.
Yeah, but everywhere I've seen said 65.
Oh, 65, yes. 65 is like the official, like, this is the start. Goddamn, I can't even talk. June 19th, 1865 was when it's like the official start, because now everyone is aware that, yo, we're free. We can do what we want. But I believe 1863 is when Abraham Lincoln signs the I don't even know what the thing is called there. That's what you do when you don't have, like, pre-production, and it's so early. Do you need help, bro?
No, there's something.
Just say I'm right so I can get my bet money. Whatever you want to give me.
I hate when you Google and, like, they have bits and pieces of stuff, and then you have to find it in the actual, the Emancipation Proclamation, issued by Abraham Lincoln on January 1st, 1863, had established that all enslaved people in Confederate states in rebellion against the Union shall be thenceforward and forever free.
Exactly. That's what I was looking for.
But in the reality, the Emancipation Proclamation didn't instantly free any enslaved people. Proclamation only applied to places under Confederate control and not to slaveholding border states or rebel areas already under Union control. However, as Northern troops advanced into the Confederate South, many enslaved people fled behind Union lines.
Yeah, I'm not really a history buff, so I don't know all those details. But I'm just saying, so it took those 2 years before, like, the word got out to the
crazy
of the people in Texas.
Why did it take 2 years?
I mean, they didn't have phones where you could just ring up and be like, yo, we're free.
I don't know. I still feel like that's a long time.
Would you expect? I mean, they're not in a rush. It's like, it's not.
Well, right. That's still meh.
But I hope one thing I love, and I love this so much about like people that are our age and younger. I was telling my mom this. My mom didn't know about Juneteenth, is what I told you like earlier. So it's interesting knowing like these older people didn't know about it. But one thing I love, and I told my mom this, I'm like, I feel like she comes from the idea of, it's great that everyone's fighting, stuff like that, but she feels like things aren't going to change. And I feel like, I'm like, I get where you're coming from. Obviously you've had decades of being in this world and whatever situations you've been in or what you've seen and all that stuff, so I get it. But I strongly believe that like the majority of us as people, white, black, Spanish, Asian, all that, no matter who you are, like we all want the same thing. It's just to live and just be happy and just be accepted. Like, yeah, you're gonna have minor problems, but everyone should have the same opportunities regardless of your race or gender or however you identify. And like I really do feel like that's going to happen, I would say even by the time like our kids are like old enough, maybe in their teens or something. So I'm thinking maybe like 10, 20 years, something like that. I'll give myself like 2040. By 2040 I feel like things will change, maybe be a bit better.
I mean, to be quite honest, I don't think we're going to see as much as we should within our lifetime.
Why not?
Because these are things that take a long time to undo. I think it's kind of, I don't know. It's one of those where I am hopeful because I do think the upcoming generation is different. I think that they're not going to settle for less than what's right. And so I think that's good. But at the same time, you have, again, where the older generation has to die off. You have us who were like in the middle. I feel like millennials are like a middle ground because it really depends on, again, how you were raised, what part of being like what age bracket millennial you are, because it's a big kind of range. I don't know. And I just feel like things like this, I get where she's coming from. Because she was around, when Black Panther was the big thing. And, there were a lot of movements that seemed like they were going to do more than they did, I think. And so I feel like I get where she's coming from, that she's kind of like, this is just another one. I think for us, it doesn't feel like just another one because this is maybe the biggest one in our lifetime that we've seen. So it's one of those where I'm like, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer because I want it to be the change we need. But I also know that people are stubborn. Things take a really long time to undo and things like that. So I don't know. I don't know how much we're going to see. We're going to see change for sure. We already are seeing it. But I don't know if it's going to be like 100% of what's needed.
It's not going to be 100%, obviously. But again, I just showed you a video the other day that was like 1976 or something like that of like, it's like these 2 or 3 like black girls in this white neighborhood just riding a bike, and like a gang of these like of these thugs, let me say, since I use this term, of like, white kids, 'cause I don't think I saw adults in that, I could be wrong, but like, teenagers maybe in their 20s or even like the very youngest, they grouped up and were pushing and shoving these two or three black girls on their bikes, and they like call them N-word, all that stuff. Just to hear like a little kid say that, it's just like, damn, the hate that you say that you don't even know what you're even saying. But that's wild. What
I fear too, because I feel like as a whole the younger generations are going to be really good and helpful, but then there's also still like, that's the thing, is racism will never completely die out if you think about it, like just because it's taught,
it won't,
and for people to unlearn these negative traits and thoughts and stuff, they have to go through a process to unlearn it themselves and then be able to teach their children differently. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just continue on with what they were taught.
So I'm not saying I don't care about 100%, obviously, but I'm saying this was back in 1976. but that was like what 50 years ago, something like that. A lot has changed within that. Like a lot has changed within that 50 years. So you're telling me in like the next 20 after, us bringing this and we're seeing, bills being passed and like just more things being done to like just accept people. I do think things are going to change. Things aren't the same as they were when I tell my friends things weren't the same as they were back in like the early 2000s of how black people were treated. It's just things are changing as much as you feel like they're not. Like,
no, I do. Again, I'm in this
20
kind
years
of...
is a huge difference.
I get
from
that.
Back then to now.
Yeah, but then you also look at the past 20 years and you're like, I don't know.
I would much rather be in this 20 years than the last 20 years.
I don't know. I feel like, again, it's this weird middle ground of, obviously it's never going to be enough. It's never going to be like changed enough in the right direction.
I'll take bit by bit. It went from we don't like these people that have different skin color than us. So the majority of people are gonna be like, yo, I don't like these black people, or I don't like these darker skinned people, whatever race they are, because in general that's how the world felt, and they made it out to seem bad, and it's ridiculous. It's still to this day. But it's like it's changing to where it's like, yo, it's cool, it's fine, it's acceptable. Like bit by bit, it keeps changing. Like I don't know. As much as you're like, you don't know, I feel pretty hopeful because the last 20 years, if you go back to like the early 2000s, I wouldn't want to be around that time. Like things were a lot worse, and like things are bad, but like I don't know. I feel like things are also different. Like people are more accepting. People will have.
Yeah, no, I think. I feel like I'm not coming across the way I want to.
Dog.
Like it's like I feel like, yes, things are always changing and things are changing for the better. I don't know. I see it as like still, if we're still in 2020, if we're still even debating this, if we're still having to talk to people and say, no, what you're saying is racist when they really don't see it. I feel like it's like we still have so far to go because people are still completely blind to even what they're defending or saying.
Okay.
And that's the frustrating part.
You're gonna have those people no matter what. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I feel like you keep going back to 100%. I don't care about 100%. I care about it being the majority, just like it was the majority back in 1976 for them to dislike black people. I want to be the majority for it to be the opposite. Like, that's it. Like, I don't need. I'll take 80. I'll take 90. I don't care. At the end of the day, what it's going to end up happening is like, yo, if you're racist, you're gonna be pushed to some side, and you can feel how you want to feel, but we're not about it. Like, that's it. Like, we're here to love each other and respect everyone, and that's it. Like, I'm not looking for 100%, but I'm looking for the majority of things to be better. Yeah, if not for me, then for my kids is what it's building. What for everyone's kids? Like, let's be real. That's what this push is for. Like, at the end of the day, cool. We're gonna get old, whatever. But it's like it's not for us. It's always about like I don't want my kids to go through this.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to find a video, once again, I'm gonna say
Stop.
that you should have saved this so we can pull it up sooner.
It's fine. Just keep going.
Oh, boy. Well, to touch on Rayshard Brooks from last week, the two officers that were a part of this, they've been charged. The cop that shot him was charged with murder. I forgot what the other cop was charged with, but I guess that the cop that didn't shoot Rayshard is also going to be testifying against that officer, which is like something that has not happened in ever, I don't think. Like, so that's
scary for the officer to have to go against another, because from what I hear, it's like they all got to band together, because if you do something like that, it's probably going to be hell for you after that.
But he
like,
did
you're
it
basically
wrong.
I understand, but you're going against
against them, yes.
This organization that it's like,
yes, because
it's like a union. It's like and
yeah, because they have it's a whole clique.
So I give them a lot of credit.
But it's just doing what's right. Like,
it is, but I'm saying that is hard.
And
when
plus,
it's like you're gonna be,
Because I feel like if you, I don't have the video with me, but if you recall the video, which I'm not sure if you do by any chance, you'll see in that video where like, you know, the cop shoots him, his partner shoots Rayshard, and then the other cop, it's kind of like he like jumps because he's taken back as to why like it just shot. If you like, because cop was going at Rayshard, and then the other guy was on the right, like by the cars, running at him, and I feel like he jumped, and I noticed that in the video, and I kind of, I don't know, I feel like he was like, I don't know if he agreed with that because he wasn't expecting anyone to get shot in this, because it didn't seem like it was needed. But did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah, this is in regards to what you were saying about how it's simply like way far back somehow people were like, oh, black people are wrong and they shouldn't, you know, they're this, that, and the other thing just simply because of what they look like. So this white girl on TikTok, she went off. It's Emily, if you're wondering who. So
I'm about to piss every white person off on this app right now. Oh shit, here we go. I just saw a TikTok that said, what if white people didn't exist? And then I remembered, we aren't supposed to exist. Being white is a genetic mutation. We don't exist naturally. White people literally come from when Pangea was a thing, and then we split up into different continents, and then people moved further away from the equator and bred lighter and lighter skinned people and even albinos until white people were created. So people that are white have the audacity to be like, we're the Aryan race, we're the supreme race. Baby. How can you be the supreme race when you weren't even a race to begin with? You can't be superior if you were never supposed to exist.
So yeah, I thought that was really interesting because personally, I didn't know that. Stop.
I feel like I've said this to you before. Hold up. I swear I've said this to you.
Yes, but I didn't know all that. I didn't know like why it was a thing. And okay, don't judge me, sir. No, but and it's kind of funny because then this goes back to defending, like, people get mad when people talk about Black Jesus.
Yeah, because those people would be darker.
Right, but it's like, if you think about it, and also, like, Middle East and, like, all this stuff, if you think about all of that, way back then, why would he have been white? You know? So, but yeah, I found that very interesting. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense. So it's like, it goes back to, how did we twist it? I want to know where this started of like, who was the first person to be like, no, white people are it, black people are out, we're going to take control of them, we're going to make them slaves, like, this is it. This is what we're supposed to do.
I really... Don't quote me on this, but I believe I heard something like... was it like the Spanish War or something a long time ago where they divided people up by like their race, not by the race, by the color of their skin. Somehow I forgot how it was explained, but I believe that's how it like initially started, where people started becoming aware of like what color their skin is.
Because I'm like, why, you know what I mean? Because if we slowly started to become lighter and lighter depending on where you were from the equator, okay, whatever, like, you just are, like, okay. But then I would just think, okay, we're all just here. We're all just chilling, like, it's fine. So where did it happen where we're just, no, we gotta completely split these people up, and this is supreme, this is dirt, this is like, we gotta treat them like dirt, like the no, what?
I'm not a history person.
Where did we go wrong?
But yeah, there's a certain portion of history where it's like, I feel like we don't know, like, I don't know, whenever we started
Which again
counting,
does not surprise me.
Whenever we started counting years, I feel like that's what's like all documented and stuff like that, but I feel like
what happened with the rest?
There's a period of like something where like this, before all this,
right. After dinosaurs and before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before the 1600s.
Because, for example,
that, you know?
I swear I've said this to you, and fine, it doesn't click in that moment. Cool. But, like, do people not understand that, like, I can go out into the sun and probably sit out there longer than you and not have to worry too much about being sunburned or something like that? Like,
no, and I get that, and it makes complete sense. And I know I've talked to you about that part because it does make complete sense that, I mean, obviously nowadays we know better, like everyone should wear sunscreen because skin cancer is a thing. We get that.
Obviously.
However, but we know, like, your skin naturally defends. Mm-hmm. Like, versus mine, I mean, you know, I was pulling weeds for a half hour and I'm over here getting super tan because, like, it's just, it just beats down on me. It's hot and I could just feel my face getting red and it's like a thing. Versus you, it's like, you may get a little darker, but your skin is like a natural defense against the harshness of the sun, which then goes and makes sense for the closer you are to the equator, because obviously it's hotter and all that.
And your body, you know, adapts to the situation over time.
So it's like, it makes complete sense when you think of it this way, that we all derived from originally being darker. So where did it switch? Where was the magic moment that this is how we're going to run the rest of our lives and all of our, everybody, descendants of us, lives forever? Like, I just genuinely, I'm like, where did that control have to come from? Because in my world, you know, my nice little la-di-da fantasy, we're all cool. Like, some people start to breathe lighter, some people stay the same, some people go darker, whatever. Like, but we're all just kind of here. You know, it's cool. Like, okay, so some lighter people are farther from the equator, some darker people are closer to it. And then if we move, hey, we're mixing. Okay, cool. Like, it may sound naive and simplistic, but it's like, I don't get why that wasn't a thing.
You have me thinking about, and it's interesting. Like, for example, when you think of like Africa, like you think of just black people, and it's like,
but no,
there's also white people there,
right? No, I had a client that was from Africa, and she had the whole accent and everything, but like super light, super white, but she genuinely, like, she lived there and she was grew up there, and I mean, yeah. So that's a thing too. I'm
trying to find, like, man, can we do like a whole history check on this? Like, I'm trying to see
seriously,
where
we gotta,
like the origins are.
We have to like figure this out because it switched at some point. It doesn't make sense if we all derived from being darker, and that naturally makes sense. Then I don't know. Like, sure, I get evolution and the body mutates, and so I understand that, like, sure, it makes sense that people got lighter and lighter, but it's the whole taking control, and it's the whole, this race is this and this race is this. Why so damn, that's pretty messed up, I think, you know.
Damn. Yeah, I'm gonna.
So she got a good point.
I'm gonna probably do some digging in this if I have some free time, and bring an update you guys on this next episode, because I'm kind of curious. Like, dig into this a bit more.
Because it's like, we're not superior by any means. Again, we're all humans. That's how I look at it. It's like, there's literally nothing that makes me more superior than the next person. Like, we're all just people. And it's like, we're not. I think that's where I come from. Is I don't know if in our lifetime we're going to see where people are just seen as people, okay? Where, like, race doesn't come as a factor of whether you live or die, or whether you get a harsher sentence for drugs, or whether, you know, you're in poverty and all that stuff. And then sexuality and gender doesn't come in when it comes to workplace bias and pay gaps and like all this stuff. I think that's where I'm like, I feel like there's so many fundamental issues among all of the different oppressed groups that I just feel like we're not going to see all the change we need in our lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, which is
and
fine.
It's sad.
But I'm not looking for all the change, but I'm just looking for the change by the time we have kids and like they're, in their like early to late teens.
I don't want my kids to have less opportunity because of their skin color or their gender identification. Mm-hmm. Literally, those things do not matter in the scheme of if you should get accepted to college and what job you can get and how much money you can make in that job compared to, say, a white man and like all this stuff. It's infuriating.
Yeah, I'm trying to I'm like doing digging as you're like talking here.
I don't know. It's going to take some time, I think, to look into. But
I don't know. I just know I'm looking like briefly. Yeah, I guess like the Spanish War did have, I maybe not to the extent of what I'm thinking, but like they did have some issue when it came to race.
When was the Spanish War?
It was like 1898. It says.
Right, but okay, so 1898.
But I'm saying they had their own thing with race because
but somewhere along the lines, and I think it happened even before America. At this point.
Well, yeah.
Before the whole 1600s and
I don't know if you're gonna
Columbus,
find
if we even go there, but yeah. That's the thing. It had to happen hundreds of years earlier, before slaves, before all that stuff. Because where did that divide start?
I don't know. We'll find out with another episode on that.
Because it was before slavery, obviously, but there was some pinnacle point that it was like, no, this race good, this race bad. This race can do everything they want. This race we completely control. Why?
I don't know, bro.
Like, it's simple. My thinking is simple. People overcomplicate things.
I don't know. But to slightly move on here, mm-hmm. Another conflicting issue is now everyone's looking at Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, what's the other products? Is it cream wheat? I don't know, whatever the thing is, mm-hmm. of their packaging, because it's
Land O'Lakes.
Land O'Lakes, but I guess they changed it recently.
Yeah, I don't know how long ago that was, but they took the representation of Indian, Native American.
And here's what I'm gonna say. Here's my frustration, because I was frustrated this whole week going on Facebook and seeing everyone that is not a minority like speak on this. Really, if you don't understand why we find Aunt Jemima to be an issue or Uncle Ben to be an issue, it's like, dog, once again, we want to keep using images of black people, and it's like, I'm not sure, I don't have the history of Aunt Jemima's like that thing, so I'm not sure if you have that, but it's just a company just freaking feeding it. Oh, you're gonna play, didn't we play on the last one?
I don't think so.
No?
I didn't think we talked about this.
But like, it's just, dog, so many things about this country is like built on racism, like the statues we put up of people, the buildings we name after, these old dead people. Like, it's nasty. And it's like, yeah, as people that are my age and younger, we're not having it. I'm great that you guys feel that, oh man, Aunt Jemima was so great, and I have her every time with my pancakes. Why you gotta get rid of such a great woman, and like all that stuff, and not knowing the history behind it? Like, just stop it, please.
So I'll play the famous, at this point, TikTok video explaining about Aunt Jemima. You know what? I might have, but we're going to play it again because we're talking about it right now.
Didn't even have you here.
Oh, the sound's not on. My bad.
Baby, you hungry? Let me fix you some breakfast. Aunt Jemima? Did you know the name Aunt Jemima means slave mammy of the plantation South? Did you know the founder, Chris Rutz, a white man, got the name after attending a minstrel show? Think blackface. Did you also know he hired former slave Nancy Green to be his very own Aunt Jemima, where she went around cooking pancakes and telling people stories of the good old South? And afterwards, they could take home a box of Aunt Jemima and that feeling of having their very own mammy. Not today. Black Lives Matter, people. Even over breakfast.
So that is Sing Kirby Sing, was the original creator of that TikTok. And basically, so What happened on our end is somebody on my friends list on Facebook posted an image, and it has a little bottle on it. And it said, if you're offended by a syrup bottle, you are the problem. And, of course, it's a white girl. We were just stunned because it's like to be so ignorant. That's just it. Like, it's... So, I didn't know how to respond at first when I first saw it, so I kind of let a couple hours go by to see like what was going to happen, and I turned notifications on. By the way, people, fun fact, because people still don't know this, you do not have to comment following if you want to turn notifications on Facebook. You go to the little three dot button, and you can turn on notifications, and nobody even knows you did it.
Never had to. Maybe in the very old days,
no, I
but
know,
it's always
but
been a thing.
People are still, they always put following F or whatever.
Yep.
So... over a couple hours, I had seen that it got 5 likes, all white people. Mm-hmm. And then there was someone who commented. Unfortunately, I do not have screenshots of the other couple comments. So what ended up happening is 2 other people, in addition to myself, made comments. The first one was informative. It was like an informative paragraph. I agreed with them. Mm-hmm. I simply put the TikTok video in the comment, and I was like, I said in a nice way, I was like, just, this take less than a minute, watch this video. It basically explains the whole issue here. And then the person after me, they came for her. It was an aggressive comment. And basically saying how she was the problem and all this. White? Yes. Oh, shortly after, she deleted all our comments. And I chose to private message her instead of leaving a comment and saying, hey, why'd you delete our comments? I was like, I just, what did I say? I'll read it.
I'm also kind of curious if this person blocked you.
She has not yet. Oh. We're still friends. I'm waiting. I purposely didn't remove her because I wanted to see how she handled that. I really thought she'd remove me. But so I said, so you're not open to discussion or understanding another point of view. Well, why remove the comments, especially when someone like me wasn't combative, rather coming from a place of education and understanding? Of course, she saw it, said nothing to it. Later on, she deleted the entire post. So that's kind of how that saga went. But I think to post a picture like that, wow. To literally say you're the problem. Guys, it's syrup. I hate to break this to you, but if they rebrand, if they take the name off, if they take the picture off, I promise you, it's still going to taste the same.
Still going to buy it.
It's going to taste the exact, because they're not going into reformulating. They're not doing all that. They're just simply giving it a little cosmetic upgrade, okay? So your syrup, your precious syrup, which by the way is not even my favorite. It's like, it's all right, but whatever, is still going to be fine. Like, you're still going to enjoy your syrup. And then, yeah, you have the white people who, someone comes to mind for me, but I will leave them nameless, like I usually do with this podcast. And as you see, I've been doing, because I'm nice like that. They're, I guess, more naive than outright like this. Where they come from the point of view of, oh yeah, that's my, like you were saying, my comfort syrup, and but it's such a cute name and it's a cute picture.
She's been in our family forever,
right? Like it's like I know her, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, also, can we talk about the fact? Have you guys seen the original like Aunt Jemima like picture? Mm-hmm. How even that. They gave her probably a stereotypical upgrade on the bottle that we know today, because she's a bit thinner, she's a bit lighter, like all this stuff. So very interesting. So I'm here for it. I'm here for the rebranding and the rename. It's one of those things that it kind of is too little too late, in my opinion, but at least they're doing it.
They weren't gonna. The minority complain about this, so mainly black people.
Right.
But like once it starts being like, oh, the majority has an issue
once
with this.
Once people get loud.
That's okay. We gotta do something. It was bound to happen
because at that point, we're risking we're not going to sell syrup anymore. Then no one's going to buy it.
Pretty much.
So I think it's really unfortunate that obviously businesses are more concerned with their bottom line and their profits than they are with how they come across and what they're representing as a company. It's one of those, again, too little too late, but also maybe better late than never. Like, it's kind of, at least they are still doing it and they're not just like, nah, we're good. Yeah. So I don't know. It's one of those, but I'm here for it. I think it's an overdue change. You know what I've been living by and what I've even told other people? It's the whole, once you know better, do better. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. So, like, for example, I never knew that was the origin of it. It's one of those where growing up, you had like a feeling, you were almost like, you were kind of like, why did they choose her? Like, why is it named this? Like, but you never like looked into it. You know, you were just kind of like, okay, this is the syrup we get as a child. But once I learned that, once I saw that TikTok, I was like, all right, that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. So it's different than, to give an example, it's different than Famous Amos, where it's like this guy literally named the cookies after himself.
Right, and it was his company. Like, exactly. It was a black-owned company, because that's what we're also seeing. Sorry, what?
Until he gave it up, but yeah.
Well, right, but so what we're seeing also, a trend on Twitter I saw is, it'll be like, show the company and show the owners, like, what is forward-facing the public, like the Aunt Jemima bottle, and who actually creates it. And there's so many companies that make it seem like it's black owned, but it's not.
Obviously.
So I think that's another thing that's very important to differentiate.
Yeah.
So.
Man, so to continue on with this education episode that we have going here, I told you about this, but I want to, give you more context about this. So Lecrea, he's a Christian rapper is what I'd label him as, and he had a show with, or I guess a conversation with the CEO of Chick-fil-A and a white pastor that I'm not familiar with, but I'm assuming he's a notable person. And the white pastor didn't want to say white privilege; he wanted to call it white blessing.
Oh, yeah, you told me about this, yeah.
And I'm going to play a clip of this. I'm not sure where I'm going to stop it at, but I just want you to hear how this guy explains it, and we're going to talk about it here. So, man, here we go.
It just is like a fuse goes off for a lot of white people because they don't want somebody telling them to check their privilege. And so I know that you and I both have struggled in these days with, hey, if the phrase is the trip up, let's get over the phrase and let's get down to the heart.
Sure.
Let's get down to what then do you want to call it? And I think maybe a great thing for me is to call it white blessing.
Now, of course, white blessing is
goddamn. On Twitter. Goddamn.
Oh, so it's not the whole.
Yeah, I was trying to get it, but it's goddamn no.
Okay,
no.
We get it though.
Damn, I was trying to get into it, because this guy goes on and he explains what white blessing is, and he's like, this pastor says it's a blessing because of everything that came from slavery. It's a blessing that I'm able to like live this life and essentially kind of like justifying it in a sense.
Bruh.
And I'm like,
bruh.
What?
That's a bruh moment.
And of course, everyone got heated when this interview came out.
It's a blessing that I'm able to live this life. Just listen to that.
Exactly.
Okay, but you realize who is suffering?
Do you know how many people had to die for your white blessing? Like, what?
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. It's literally that commercial. Like,
what? So because when this pastor said his thing and all that stuff, Lecrea just sat there and he just nodded like he was cool with this. Like, he didn't just take in what this pastor just told him, that this was a blessing. This was great. He just
of course. It's one of those where you don't really know what to say.
And then so everyone got mad at him, and rightfully so. And the pastor came out and apologized and all that stuff, and Lecrea came out and explained. But it's like, the people that feel like, yo, I don't want to call it white privilege, or I have like some friends that like say, oh, white privilege isn't a thing, and it's like, shut up. Like, I saw one of my friends post a video this past week, and it's like, it's this black woman, where she's like, how are you gonna say that, you know, there's privilege? I can, you know, buy the same clothes as someone, buy the same car, buy, you know, I have this nice phone, I have this and that. That's great. We can buy the same things, yes. But when it comes to someone, like a person being able to stop you from doing things, that's the issue. Like, we can buy the same stuff, but
because
like,
you could argue the same exact thing. With the position that you're in, you could say the same things that she did, but you also recognize the difference. And there's clearly, there's something there. And
I gave my friend an example. He didn't reply to it, obviously, because no one wants to. But because this lady's point was, oh, you know, she has the same rights and everything as everyone else. So I sent him an article of last year, California passed like where you can't discriminate against black people's hair, because some workplaces do this. Mm-hmm. And I sent him the article. Probably didn't check it out.
Especially women.
Yeah. And I further went in and I gave him an example of this as to how I had one of my friends come in, which you've met, and he's like, I'd say he's like me, but like he's smarter in the sense of like he went to school, he has his bachelor's, like like this guy he's set up. So I'm like if my boss likes me, he's probably gonna like this guy because we're pretty similar, and this guy has a degree and everything. I'm sitting here with just a high school diploma, like you know, this is someone that he should hire. So I really think my boss at the time is I wouldn't say racist, but biased or something, like, or maybe slightly racist or something.
Microaggressions.
But the reason he didn't hire him was because he had a man bun, and he thought that wouldn't be proper to be around like clients. Which, first off, we barely are around clients.
I know.
Like maybe once a year, if
for
that,
the conference,
if you're lucky enough to go,
yeah.
And it's like, I just really feel like he has an issue with black people because, as I told you recently, they hired a white guy, and within like a year of this white guy being there, he got upgraded to being like a team lead. And it's like, I was there for, what was it, like a year? Oh, pretty much a year on point. But other people were there for like 2-3 years. A guy left after being there for like 3-4 years and was like doing a good job and everything, but didn't get it. And it's like, it's because the only thing that's different from this current guy that's there, obviously he's white, but the only thing different is he wore not like a suit, but he wore like the stupid office outfit that I find is so stupid because I'm around my colleagues all the time. So why am I dressing up just so you guys can see me? I don't care. But he, you know, dressed up in the regular like dress pants and button up shirt all the time. So that's the only one up he had against everyone else that has been there for years, and they got tired because they weren't getting a promotion. And I'm like, that's stupid. That's stupid. I don't know. I have frustrations about a lot of things. And at this point, I'm very tired and upset and irritated by a lot of friends that I you know, share a common space with.
I hear that.
Anything you want to add there on this white blessing topic? Do you feel like it's a blessing?
No, because look at it this way. Why should I specifically be the one getting blessed? Why is it because of my race it's a blessing? You know what I mean? Why should people have to suffer for my blessing?
Pretty much.
Like, because you're basically saying it wasn't a blessing just because we had a good life. No. You're saying it was a blessing because of slavery.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what's funny? So, would you expect the Chick-fil-A CEO to say, as far as their statement towards this stuff that's happening?
I don't know, to be honest, because I know that they are vocally against LGBTQ+, which sucks. But I don't know where they stand on race. So, because, of course, I'm sure, it'll surprise me and they'll be different.
This is the CEO, Dan Cathy. And he goes and says, like I guess a dozen Chick-fil-A restaurants have been vandalized over the last week.
Interesting.
He urged white people to repent and take action against racism during a roundtable discussion that he had Sunday, and this is the one with Lecrea and everything. and the white pastor, and he says, "My plea would be for the white people, rather than to point fingers at that kind of criminal effort, would be to see the level of frustration and I'm gonna kill this word, exasperation,
yeah,
and almost a sense of hopelessness that exists among some of these activists within African American communities." And I was like, "Thank you."
Okay. Honestly, here's what I think. I think Chick-fil-A, they're cool with people race-wise.
Yes, they're
because it's like, oh, that's not going against God or however they view it.
Yeah. Because the Bible doesn't say anything about that, right?
Right. The same breath. What if it's a trans black woman? We don't care.
Matter. Yeah.
What if it's a queer black man? Oh, we don't care.
It's sad to say, and I think we had an episode talking about this maybe a few months back or something. But it's ridiculous, these trans women that are getting killed in these communities.
Oh, absolutely. That's why there's been a lot of things going around specifically supporting trans black women because they are the most vulnerable.
And I get it.
It's sad.
I get it. It's different. And I'll say my first experience, more so with like, I guess you could say, I'm trying to think, I don't know the proper term.
Transgender?
With that, and also, I guess, drag queens, I think so, right?
Yeah, so it's interesting because some are cool being called drag queens. Some people identify as bigender.
I don't want to.
So like they are one gender, but then they also can dress up as another gender. So there's different classifications.
And I get it because like some people like they're like, man, it's different. I don't like it, and it's always that like if you don't understand something,
if you're
fearful.
Uncomfortable, yeah.
And like I remember, this is when I was like a teenager. I forgot how old I was. I didn't find it like nasty or anything like that, but you kind of like giggle to yourself. This one time when I went to, this was back in like 2014. Damn. 2014, 2013, one of those two, where me and my friends, we go to this convention, PAX East, that happens every year. And we just happened to go out and I think hit like a movie spot that was in Boston. And we were like walking down the street and it was just like weird seeing like these super tall like guys that like in like dresses and stuff. And like, I'm not gonna, laugh at them and point anything out, but it's just like I've never being in the little area we're in, because we're not in a city, you never see that, and it's like that's pretty interesting. I was kind of curious to see like where they were going, because I want to mark this on my list of things to do. I always want to go to like a drag show or something.
Oh my god,
just to like be a part of their environment.
Me
see how
too.
That is.
Because you just hear how amazing they are, because not only are they funny, because of course like they kind of use it as like a comedy club kind of thing, but also like they just sound like these awesome like positive places to be in, where like
that's probably why I want to go.
Everybody's cool, like it's just we're all chilling, like
yep.
And yeah, so my first I think real experience was probably 2012ish when I went to Cape Cod, and Provincetown is nationally known as like the place to go if you are in that community. And I mean, I saw so many, in particular men, so many gay men together were like the biggest thing on that street. And then there were like drag shows, which at the time I couldn't get in because they were like 21 plus clubs and I wasn't. But there were those, and it was just like people had jerseys on that had like, say, the year they got married or something, and like people were just open and just loving and just themselves. And it was like, it was partly this, I guess you could say, culture shock, because I wasn't used to being around all of that. But at the same time, I was like, this is so cool. Like, I just loved seeing, like, I loved, these, I remember it was like this pair of men, and they had the little jerseys, and it made up their year, and like, they were just adorable. Like, they were like honeymooning or something. Like, I don't know. But it was just like, I love that stuff. Like, and I just, because I'm a hopeless romantic. I love period. And so for me, seeing it displayed in such a way that's like we have fought for this and we've come so far. Like, that's so cool.
I'm with it. And yeah,
So,
I think that's, at the time, I really felt like, even though my friends probably wouldn't be up for it, I was kind of curious. So I'm like, that's interesting.
oh my God,
and
you
I
and me
kind of wanted to be a part
so
of
have
it.
to do that.
And I feel like now we're going through this current like climate, I'm like, I feel like the reason I was kind of interested to know where they were going is just, I would feel,
Accepted.
I would think I would feel accepted in that environment where I'm not like judges. So why is there a black guy in here? Like
Right.
it wouldn't be like that. Or why he's not here to steal or ruin it.
Right.
Or, all that stuff.
Like, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah,
It's so cool.
So that's something to cross off the list, man. All right, man. We hitting on a lot of things. So to wrap this bad boy up, guys, we got a relationship topic that is away from this stuff. Wanted to change it up. Man,
Oh boy.
this one I'm not gonna follow this too much. I'm kind of just gonna gaze.
Give a summary.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go through it a little bit here.
Okay.
But essentially, so this guy goes on to say he wants to get married, but he's scared shitless of a divorce, and it's preventing him from proposing. He's 28, and his girlfriend's 27, and they've been together for almost 3 years now. They've known for a while that they were right for each other, and they want to be together, and he loves her, and he knows he wants to marry her, but he's scared out of his mind about a divorce. And do you know the reason for that? Or why do you think the reason for that is?
Because a lot of people are, and just that's kind of how we're taught.
He lived through it because he grew up in a divorce.
Oh, right. That makes sense.
And he has quite a few family members who have been divorced, so he knows what kind of incredible emotional toll it can take on a person. I wouldn't say I'm particularly emotionally strong, and I honestly don't think I could take the pain of a divorce. He knows it's an irrational fear, and that they hardly fight, and they're very good at communicating. So if there's a disagreement, they can just talk it through and resolve it. And he's pretty much looking for anyone's opinion on what he should do or their thoughts.
So, I'm the type of person, I grew up thinking divorce was like the worst thing you can do, and that it's like shameful. My parents never got a divorce, but probably should have. And so I think that further led into the thought of no matter what's happening in that relationship, you have to stay in it. And so then here I am growing up, and there's still a part of me that thinks, yeah, divorce sucks. Obviously, no one likes it. No one wants it. And yeah, it can feel like a failure. But then as I've grown, especially the past few years into my own, I've also learned that divorce can be a really good thing. And I think I always thought that, obviously. But it's not the end of the world if that's where it leads, just because if you guys can go separate ways, of course it's going to hurt. Any breakup or divorce, like, they suck. But if it ultimately leads you to either individually or with someone else having a better relationship and taking better care of yourself and all that, then hey, it's worth it, because there does come a point, abuse is not acceptable, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, sexual, all of that. So there are certain cases where divorces, I think, are very important. And the ability to have a divorce is important. I think we all go into marriage hoping for the best, anticipating that, and we all kind of have a little fear of divorce, I think, because yeah, not only is it emotionally scarring, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of moving parts, especially if you have children, and all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those where, yeah, I think I was scared for a while too. And that thought crossed my mind last year when we were engaged, as well. And is like, All right, so I guess we're doing this. I'm kind of nervous that down the road this may not last, whatever. I think all of us have those thoughts when we're leading to a wedding or getting married. But I'm also the type of person, I'm a lover, okay? And I love hard, and I think if you give it all you got, and it's one of those where real love is worth the risk, and passionate, amazing, silly love where you can share your life together, the ups and downs, support each other, all that stuff, I think it's worth the risk that comes with marriage. Because, again, we don't know. We don't know where 20 years from now will be. We don't know, like, people are human, you know, he probably doesn't want to hear this, but like, as, you know, they communicate effectively, you know, it sounds like. But hey, 10 years down the road, that may slow down, or maybe someone will not be feeling the spark anymore. And like, there's stuff that can happen all the time, you know, and that's where you got to really stay on it. So I think as long as you two stay diligent on yourselves and each other every single day, and you keep that faith and you keep that passion and you keep that priority, I think it'll be fine. But yes, I mean, everybody understands going into a marriage, there is the risk of divorce, because also there's the fact that sometimes one person is happy and the other person isn't, and they didn't realize it. And then the other person who's not happy files for divorce, and they're just like, wait, what? So there's a lot of different scenarios. So, but I think it's worth the risk.
I'll take it and add my personal experience with this. Coming from our relationship, I say when you're in 3 years and like everything's going good, you're able to communicate well, you're able to, handle disagreements in a respectful and reasonable way. I say that's good. I say coming from us, around the 3 years, it was tough, and I was like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was an issue. And it's like, I was probably thinking this at the time, where it's like, do I really want to take that chance with this person? Like, do I?
No, we both were.
So I really feel like that's a good sign, where it's like, okay, because I feel like the first year is like, like you're kind of trying to get to know this person.
You need like a solid couple years.
Second year, you start like unveiling your real self, stuff like that. Third, it's like, okay, this is us.
Especially if you live together.
Yeah, you're going through the motions, all that stuff. I feel like if you're able to communicate and you're handling things as good as you say that they're being handled, I feel like you should do it. The way I look at things, at least for our relationship, is I section things off. Because bit by bit, as we grow and go through different stages of our lives, like, I'm not trying to come in with the same energy I had from like 2019, 2018 into like 2020 and whatever, like, problems and issues that are happening then, if that makes sense. Like, for example, if I don't know, I can't like think it. Man, I can't think of like the best way to like word this, but I'm just trying to keep it as I like to focus on the problem as much as possible. Sorry, I'm like all over the place. I'm trying to focus on the problem as much as possible. And as we grow and things are happening, like currently, to touch on it briefly, you're going through like the issue with your business, stuff like that. And it's like, it's a sucky situation. And it's like, I'm here to help as much as possible, but, it's limiting. All I can do is be like, things will get better. And, if I can help, which I can't, sadly, it's like, I don't know. It's just like, it's just trying. Like, I feel like divorce is like the very last option, where it's like, we've been fighting for like years now. You don't like me, I don't like you. Things are just going downhill. Like, it's just like, if we're tired of each other, then like,
well, that
it seems like the better option,
right? And like I said, there's certain, I think, circumstances too where it's very justified. If you're in danger in any way, like obviously, things like that. I think cheating is definitely a hot topic. Some people Some people, if you do it once, they're gone. Some people are like 3 times you're out. Like there's different rules there, so it kind of depends on who you're with. But there's definitely like there's certain categories where like divorce needs to be an option. I think it's one of those where it shouldn't be taboo and like you cannot get a divorce. We can't go into this basically threatening that like we can never divorce each other either. It has to be realistic that no, we're going to work our asses off to ensure that we are loving each other properly and we are bringing our best selves into this and that, you know, X, Y, and Z. But if shit hits the fan and if it's like the worst of the worst and things just aren't improving, we've done every single thing we can do, it needs to be an option because then it's a matter of respect. Like, I think people just, again, it was such a taboo topic, like even 50 years ago, that, you know, you couldn't get divorced.
I also look at it as, most recently, for example, Queer Eye put out a new season, and Karamo had his, like, moment with this lady, with her husband that had, like, ALS, and he had this scene with her where it's like, you know, told her to look at her pet, look behind her and look, you know, towards her to show like your past and your future, to say, hey, what was in your past was great, and like you don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, but you know that's gonna be great too. So I look at it as like if divorce happens, I feel like a lot of people they treat the person they're married to as an object, and I'm kind of just like free flowing with it. So if it happens, yeah, it's going to hurt, but at the same time, you know, I love what we had, and you know all the moments we had. But it's, you know, if it has to happen, it has to happen.
That's a good one because they could be your person, but they're not your thing.
Because I feel like that's a lot of times.
There's a difference.
Like, for example, we'll joke every now and then, not about divorcing.
Unless it's over Mario Party.
No, like, what do you call it? I don't know, like, just, yeah, I don't know, just joking. And it's like, if I look at it as, like, if you want to go do something, that's fine. If, like, I hate the notion of, like,
that you control the person.
Treating someone as an object. And it's like, dog, I'm here to live just as much as you are. And if you want to do something, do it. Like,
no, we were joking before we got on the podcast. I saw a TikTok and there was this woman who had a very, very, very low cut short. And so her boobs were all out all over the place. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to record the podcast like this. And I like pulled my shirt down, put my boobs together. And I'm like, haha. And he was all like, okay, like go ahead. Like he's very much that way where it's like, and I think that's very cool. Like, I don't know if I've ever told you.
I don't know if I want to say that. I like, you can say that because I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, no, I don't care. We're just being silly. And like, it's, I think that's very cool. And I don't know if I've ever said this to you, like being a woman, being with a person, a man that is cool with these kind of things and isn't like, no, either you have to cover up or everything's mine or you can't do X, Y, and Z with your body. It's very empowering to be with someone like that because he genuinely does not care. Like, there's been several moments like that where, like, you know, I'll be like, oh, well, I'll wear something this short or this revealing or I'll do this and that. And, you know, usually, like, girls do that to get, like, a rise out of their guys. And he literally doesn't care. Like, he's just like, okay, cool.
Dog, get an
like,
OnlyFans. Let's make some money.
He literally said that the other day.
Man, I'm trying to get this
and
house.
I'm just like, okay, that's a little far for me.
I'm trying to get this house. If we can get it
You
sooner.
get it OnlyFans. Men do it too.
Oh, I can't shake anything.
Yes, you can, baby. We love each other, see? But, yeah, so, I don't know.
Yeah,
we kind of went off on a tangent, but
at the end of it, I think this guy should do it. I think you're trying to talk yourself out of it, and it seems like you have a good thing happening.
Yeah, just take the chance. Yeah. Like nobody wants it, but if you guys are like on a good playing field and you can see growing a life together, whatever that is for you, like why not?
Yeah, take
the chance. Love's worth it.
Yeah, yeah, and it just like I said, like just don't go into it thinking like this is like this. I own this person because I feel like that. I feel like that's the attachment. That's the issue everyone has. Like this person is mine. Like,
and it's suffocating, and then the other person can resent you for it, and they can't be them genuine selves and stuff like that.
Like I feel like that maybe that's why like divorce sucks. Like dog. Like if you didn't want me and all that stuff, like it sucks.
Yeah.
But it's like if that's the person's choice, and at the end of the day, it makes that person feel
right.
happier.
Well, again, that's where respect comes into play.
That's all I got.
Cool. We did it.
Man, on that note, I'm gonna go take a shower and chill in some AC because it is hot out. I'm not sure about anyone else, but it's getting real hot out here.
So we're back to summer, which means we have our box unit in this office, but we don't get to run it while we do our podcast because it's too loud. So we sacrifice our comfort for you guys.
Yeah. It sucks. All right.
He's like, I'm just gonna say it.
On that note, we will see you guys next week. I appreciate and love, respect everyone. Man, I'm just trying to give love out. Hey. With that being said, I am Shadell, co-host of Paging the Simpsons. I am joined by my lovely wife,
Lauren.
and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Peace out.